Dear Dhamma friends, now it is time for our question and answer session. So today also we have a few written questions. I'll start with them and then as time permits, you may raise questions to the audience if there are any. The first question goes like this. Bhante, can you please explain the relationship between the mindfulness and willpower? So if to give a kind of a Buddhist theoretical explanation, mindfulness, the rendering of the word as mindfulness appears sati in the texture, in the canon, and the willpower often translated as the volition, and that is chetana. So this indicates two mental factors of the mind. So mind is translated as the consciousness, and so mind is always working with its mental factors, and mental factors are the real workers to indicate that sea and its waves. Sea is the consciousness, different waves are the mental factors. Later secondary data analysis, or so to say the commentators, they came out with the figure. They say there are 52 mental factors according to the canonical analysis. So mindfulness as sati and the willpower as the chetana are two of the mental factors. So they are already in one's own mind, but the understanding or aligning them, if it is not happening, they are hardly we can put into use, even though it is available. So one has to understand. So the technique in the vipassana, we do it, we isolate one by one. First we try to give the priority for the mindfulness, and once the mindfulness comes into being, you can understand the faith, you can understand the energy, you can understand the concentration, you can understand the wisdom. Likewise, slowly you understand as a positive factors. Negative are hatred, desire, bewilderment, jealous, all the kind of thing. So, day before and day previously, we were talking about the mano sanchetana. That is the basic term is chetana. Chetana is somewhat like, it's completely not a rendering, but we can say willpower. So it is also one and part and parcel of one's own mental factors. So it varies from person to person, time to time. So these two are two mental factors. Unless otherwise you start with mindfulness, so to say satipatthana, very difficult ones to understand, one to realize how much that kind of volitional or mental volition or mental preparation or will is taking part in one's decision-making procedure. So in the theism, as I tried to explain that day, according to my knowledge on books, it says according to the omnipotent, omnipresent power of the God, it says the creatures have no willpower, only the God has all the complete authority and dictating powers. So therefore creatures are, this is the subject. But the Father Aquinas, he wanted to introduce individual creatures also have certain amount of willpower. So therefore, if they know it and if they accept it, they can discipline themselves. So in put forward this idea with moral training, moral understanding and moral responsibilities. Then the other cardinals appeared to accept him, and then he became the teacher of, father of teaching, education, and he introduced each and everyone has their own fair share of the willpower, and you can use it, and you can educate using that willpower, and you can make use in order to restrain yourself in the moral sense. And likewise it went on. But later of the best analysis by Arthur Schopenhauer, he analyzed how each and every individual using his or her willpower. And ultimately concluded each and everyone misuse it. When and where you use willpower, it is always evil. So that was devastating to the educated world, civilized world, ruling world, political world, economic world. And therefore everyone rejected him as nihilistic, destructive kind of thing. But the same idea brought forward by the Friedrich Nietzsche soon after Arthur Schopenhauer, and whenever Jnana Tiloka, one of the Czechoslovakian monk, he quoted these two workers, they are both of them philosophers, and write a book in Buddhist Publication Society, Arthur Schopenhauer and the Friedrich Nietzsche. They were the first people to read Buddhist texts from the Western point of view. And then onward, they both of them recognized as nihilistic or destructive, but no one can disprove it. Because, as the saying of the Buddha, Sabbe Sankhara Dukkha. Each and every mental volition is leading to suffering. Sabbe Sankhara Anicca. Each and every volitional activity is leading to impermanence. So therefore, whatever you are going to commit, ultimately, in terms of mental volition, you have to suffer. You are doing something against the nature. So therefore, you have to have the willpower, but you must use it to adjust according to the nature rather than adjusting the nature. You must use your willpower to fit into the nature. How much you have the ability to fit into the climate, fit into the nature, fit into the fellow being, fit into the environment, so much so willpower is good. But if you think we can change it, or we must change it, then onward, whatever you are going to do, going to have a flashback or backfire. So that is the way it is being expressed now. So how even Isaac Newton expressed, whenever you are disturbing something, that very thing is reacting equal and opposite way. Otherwise, that action is straightforward in the sky, in the space. If you interact it with something, that your path will be changed and there will be a reaction, equal and opposite to the action. So exactly the same, and exactly the same thing Karl Marx mentioned, thesis, antithesis and synthesis. There's a thesis, he believes the antithesis and come and do revolution, and then accordingly you can change the path. That is the synthesis, and that appeared like productive, creative and very dynamic like, but ultimately whenever it's a flash, the backlog going to happen, you or your progeny has to suffer. So what the Buddha mentioned is, try your whole willpower in terms of moral responsibilities or moral restrainment, concentration restrainment and the wisdom restrainment, to understand the situation as it is, see things as they are and see how much you can fit into that. Then you are making no any landmarks. You are not claiming any kind of creativity. You try to fit into that, so that least amount of impact, so that least amount of infliction back, so that you will be yet another passing wind, refreshing the situation but leaving no marks. So that is the relationship between the... Of course there is no that kind of such a hard relationship, direct relationship between the mindfulness and the willpower. But unless otherwise you are mindful, you will never understand the evil side of your willpower, and you do not know how to make use the available portion of willpower, unless otherwise you put your mental factors in line with the help of mindfulness. Otherwise you will try your best, but your mind is always split. Internally there's a conflict. Only the mindfulness is make the thing align, just like a piece of iron. If you apply with a constant magnet, you can make it a magnetic. When the iron become magnet, all the internal ions become polarized and magnetic power comes. Likewise, our mind is hell of a jam. It is, everything is messed up. Unless you make it a magnetic, very difficult you to find the north. So, early part of the meditation is magnetizing. Reduce the number of activities, increase the amount of mindfulness, and observe it as if the most important thing in your life, and see how the things are working. And that way you can find the middle path, find the least frictional path, and for that mindfulness is playing a crucial game. And as a third food, third nutriment, you can understand how the motivation is happening, how the mental motivation, as a mental factor, is working. Unless otherwise its discipline is always crooked. It's always pushing off the track. So in order to reduce the crookedness and bring it back to the align with the mindfulness, you have to understand your own willpower, but it is not to make a revolutionary, but to make fit into the situation. See things as they are. Adapt yourself according to the circumstances rather than trying to change the circumstances according to your will, likings and disliking. So this is what we call the restrainment or tapasa. Tapasa means what the hermit is going to do. So therefore, that only the parallel, one single movement, for my understanding, is the Girl Guides and the Boy Scouts. That Baden Powell, first information is be prepared. Be prepared. Not to change the society, not to change the environment, but you must fit into the circumstances. Then you find least friction, and then no much of a tension. So for that you have to use the willpower in a positive way. I don't know how to put it to that. That is, see the maximum. How can you fit into the set? How can you fit into the environment or given factors? So therefore, keep the mindset or keep the mindfulness. Let anything happen. Don't react. Don't assume the thing. See things as and when it happens, as it is, and see how much you can observe it without a prejudgmental this thing, and so that mindset is well prepared for the next thought moment also, to see as and when it happens, as it is, no expectation, no rejection. So this is the way you are understanding or taming your willpower, so that ultimately it will be benevolent, so that it will try to be parallel with the natural flow, natural unfolding. So these are the things we can put into practice, but I don't know whether how efficiently I am answering the question. As far as understand the relationship between the mindfulness and the willpower. So these are the connection I can say. If you are mindful, you can understand the function of willpower and tame it, so that you can make yourself as a well-tamed horse or well-tamed donkey. So you can ride it. Otherwise, donkey will decide where to go. And then you have to ultimately justify it. That is what we do throughout. We let the donkey to do it, and after finishing we justify. And then everything appears full of jokes. In Sinhala, we say, ලේසියටත් පහසුවටත් දැන වැරදි කරනවා. එහෙම වුණත් නිදහසටත් කරුණු කියනවා නැත්නම් හදලා කියනවා. That is what we do all the day. We do everything for the easiness and for the pleasure principle. And whenever something goes wrong, we have so much of a habit of reasoning it, as if we did it. Of course, what happened was, it is something happened. You just succumb to the situation, but in reasoning, justifying, you are masters. When I am doing in my MS we had a subject called adult psychology. We had about 30 hours for lectures. There we can understand adults. We do all the dirty things, but when someone asks, we give reasoning. It's a joke. Everyone knows, before cheating someone, you have to cheat yourself. Otherwise, you can't cheat others. So therefore, this reasoning happens because we don't understand the will. We don't understand the motivational aspect in our life. So therefore, understand it under the restrainment, under the light of mindfulness. Then you can tame the donkey. Dear Bhante, if you could listen into your mind meditation, what would be here? Your mind, you will hear the sound of silence. So when the mind is, if you are looking the mind as the present moment as the best, and whenever the mindfulness is inwardly, you can see a kind of a flux. Or as far as the hearing is concerned, it is called sound of silence, or sometimes it is called inner listening. That's a kind of I don't know it is how to. Some people say this is ringing 1,000 bells at a time. As a sound is happening. Some people, there's a kind of a jet engine sound. Some people say it is like a grasshopper sound. So very basic at the level. It's a very good sign that your mind is at solitude. It is always there. So therefore you have to listen the other external thing and go back deep and deep and deep without reaction to them. Ultimately you can listen to the inner sounds. That is to indicate you are not dead. That's to indicate you are not sleepy. That's to indicate you are not unconscious. That's a kind of indication. And some people say if you are to climb a mountain, snowy mountain and up there, and if there is no one at your vicinity, you feel like a throbbing sound telling that you have no other one to ask for help. You are, how do you call, alone, lonely. That sound indicates loneliness. But that always there, that is why we are always happy to listen music. We do not wish to listen our loneliness. We always keep things are fixed while we are cycling, when we are driving. Every time you can see people are with headphones and listening outside. So if you listen to your mind, I think the Venerable Amaru from Amaravati, he has written a book called as Inner Listening or Listening to Sound of Silence. He has mentioned that it's been mentioned in all the religious books, not only it's Buddhism, but the Buddha also has not given much of emphasis. But whenever you listen, whenever you inwardly, whenever you are mindful, whatever may be your posture, whatever may be the time of the day or season, you feel it, you're bound to listen it, and then you can understand the mind is now in the aloneness, not the loneliness. For the meditator it is aloneness, for the non-meditator it is loneliness, for non-meditator it's a hateful. Indicate that you are outcasted, no one to talk, and you are no one. But for the meditators it indicates the solitude, so it is called aloneness. So you must appreciate aloneness, and you must understand, mind is often read it as loneliness. So changing from loneliness to aloneness is a spiritual thing. Bhante, I have asthma, and when I am breathing in, out, sometimes there is congestion and tension. Do I focus on the most prominent area of the tightness for the duration? That means the upper chest, throat. When congestion lessen or gone away, do I stay there or focus on another area of sensation? Hot, cold, under my nose. Yeah, that if you have asthma, you are better off to do anapanasati, because your sensation is very prominent. If you have any difficulty here, you can feel the breath very clearly because you have to have an effort. So that means the congestion happens. You can see the point where the congestion is taking place. But when and where the breath becomes subtle, as indicated, sometimes congestion lessens off and then goes away. Then you have to find what is the next prominent point, and that is the way you keep the focus on the most prominent point. And there's one novel, short story, handwritten and published in Buddhist Publication Society. One she-elephant listening to an instruction tape of Anapanasati and try Anapanasati, she finds very difficult because she has no upper lip. I am very sorry, I am so unlucky, I can't do Anapanasati. And she tried her best. And next day, another nun come and give a talk. She is in a close by area. The meditation is happening here. She has tied to a coconut tree outside and she is listening to the instruction. Then second day, she is talking about the walking meditation. And then the she-elephant is trying. And still she says, my heart, the soul is very difficult to touch it, but it is catching. So she says sometimes when he's walking on the pebbles and kind of thing, she can start. And then she start meditation. And then ultimately she give a complete story about meditation starting from this walking meditation. First, with the Anapanasati, it's a failure. And then walking meditation is again in the ground. The novel is written... named as walking meditation, written by Suyamali Karunaratne. Later she became a nun. And so very nice, when she is making complaint, telling that only human can do Anapana because I don't have no upper lip to focus. But for walking meditation, no problem. That is... Locha Gunaratna that is doing our, as architect in our building, Locha's sister is Suyamali Karunaratna, and she has written this nice, this thing as walking meditation, published in Buddhist Publication Society. And starting from that, she gave very nice instruction how the meditation is developing. People find difficulties and complain to say, I can't do Anapana, I can't do walking meditation, I have no this, I have no that. But instead, start from the point where possible and then it's catching.
What's the name of that book?
Walking meditation. Dear Bhante, thank you for your guidance and the kind teaching. My question is that I understand the theory, the logic and reasoning of how one comes to be and how one passes on or attain nirvana. According to theory, this knowledge is enough to be stream entry. Stream entry. Why am I still lost and what more should I do? The point is not clear. I am repeating the question. Thank you very much for your guidance and the kind teaching. My question is that I understand the theory and logic and the reasoning of how one come to be and how one passes on or attain nirvana. According to theory, this knowledge is enough to be a stream enterer maybe. Why am I still lost and what more should I do? As far as you are looking the problem from point of I, always you had lost. Nothing to worry. If you are looking the problem from the I point of view, self point of view, it's a mess. It's a lost. No way. So we have to understand when and where I is there, you are completely messed up. You are completely lost. So therefore see, withdraw I from this lost. You can see the lost then. As far as you are assuming I, always a mess. So unless otherwise you meditate, you think the world is perfect and everything very nice. But when and where you go to meditation, you find you are nowhere, never even started. You are just unborn baby. So you will be so upset about that. Because you want to get the master level or PhD level right from the beginning. Never. Whenever you go to meditation, again you have to start from the zero. That very beginner's mind is a real rejuvenation. You have to forego everything. How nice to say, now I am nowhere. Because as far as I am concerned, it is nowhere. It's lost. So that very understanding is the rejuvenation. It is to say, you can start right now. No one has gone somewhere else. We are leaving, we are going, walking away from I. We are understanding the mess, the split mind, the unsatisfactoriness, the changing nature. So when and where it is manifesting, you must be happy. That is what we are searching. That is what we are going to see it. There is no other any concrete prism-shaped knowledge or kind of a worldwide accepted formula, or there is no yardstick to say this is that and this. So understanding there is no such, still lost nothing, gained nothing, that you are on the way. So therefore that better to put this kind of idea as much as possible outwardly and discuss it, and then only one can say, not only one person has gone lost, everyone. Everyone is in the loss. So understanding we are lost, it's a gain. Otherwise we assume thinking that other person is better than me, other person is lower than me, that everything happened as far as we don't know. When and where we assume I, myself, it's lost. So therefore, nothing to worry, keep on practicing as if it is a most important thing. Do it in a systematic way. Whenever you are to understand, it will never happen in the time what you expect. It will never happen to the extent what you expect. Never happen from the person what you expect. It's always electric. It's always a coincidence. So therefore keep on fighting or keep on striving, and then you will understand, not through the linear method, not through the rational way, but kind of evolution in the thinking pattern. Dear Bhante, what is the point where seeing turns into what is the point where seeing turn into looking? Is it perception? If so, is the point before perception the place we can step out of samsara? This is a very interesting point. First and foremost, of course it is not a new concept, you have to understand the seeing and looking. Seeing is, as far as the carnal eye is intact, is taking place as far as the external objects are there, when and where the mind comes and support. But the looking is conscious thing. Voluntarily you have to do it. It is, motivation is there. So changing from seeing to looking is a very grey area. Very difficult to say up to this much I am seeing and from here onward I am looking. Very difficult to draw a line. So therefore first and foremost we have to understand listening and hearing, seeing and looking, and each and every sense has this active action and the passive action. In the language also this is the most intricate part to understand passive voice and the active voice. So when you are understanding, you can see bodily action you are doing and something happening. In talking, you do something, it is happening. In thinking, you consciously think, sometimes thinking happens. Looking, listening, smelling, tasting, touching. So just understand, one part is something happening due to the habits or due to likings and disliking or kind of a coincidence. The other part, you are consciously, you have motivation, will, and then these two, whenever you understand how changing from one to the other, there is no clear-cut line. In Abhidhamma and in the commentarial, this thing. This is sampajana, asampajana. This is sampajana means without any propellants from in and out, with the propellants, with the motivation. Asampajana means without the propellant, without a support. So these two cut into two. But when I am asking that from Venerable Jnanananda Katukurunda, he says, these conceptually you can separate it, but in practical, it is very difficult to put them into two. Because in between, there's a grey area. The question comes, what is the point we are seeing turn into looking? The situation becomes more complicated. Very person who is seeing is now going to look. He or himself is asking the question, from whom? So then you see that how much it is involved, how much it is intricate. So thinking also the same. It is something happening to me, or am I consciously thinking? Then you see you are losing the boundary of me and not me. Whenever you lose the boundary and me and not me, language loses to exist. The grammar loses its powers. And it becomes kind of a involved thing. Otherwise we think language is 100% complete system, we can express everything. But the Buddha says language expresses only very limited area, just like the vibgyor in the whole the energy. Only very little is expressed. Others are not. So therefore, when and where you try to see the difference between the seeing and looking, you are losing the boundary from ego to non-ego. Me, non-me, not me. So when you meditate sitting, for example, if you are focusing the attention directly, precisely we'll say in the touching point, and you can see the touching point responds to the in-breath, how is the out-breath, and when that become very somewhat face-to-face, almost you can see other places also there are tingling sensation and sounds and kind of thing, pressure, stiffness, tension movements, and then now your focal point is here. Being here, you can feel the whole body. Now, the touching point is inside, outside body is outside, it becomes. Because you have selected the touching point as my focal point. Within that you can see the in-breath and out-breath. Meanwhile you can feel other bodily sensation also. And when you go further, you can understand beyond the body also. If the body is hot, that means outside is cooler. If the body is harder, the cushion is softer. So rationally or deductively, not only within the area you can tactile sensation come and intact, but it go merging to the outside. Ultimately you can understand which is me and which is not me. And that is how you lose the power of the language. You use the power of grammar. That kind of a universalization of your understanding going on. It is starting from very one tiny point and then spreading, going out. So when this is kind of a space-wise understanding, so time-wise also there. When you all of a sudden we see something, and of course we are at that time we are doing on walking meditation, and forgetting about the touch of the ground, we feel interest, we feel some importance of that, and then we feel our attention is dragged into seeing, and ultimately look into the looking. And we are at the limit. So it is not the subject matter for people like us. So we have to just depend on the theory, and only you have to understand in this operation, active action is there, passive action is there. Active action, you are getting involved with the karma and the karma theory. Passive action, you are not. So as far as you can't discriminate them, you understand the karma theory of the good begets good and the bad begets bad, never we can comprehend. only very limited part we can do. So therefore, if you find it is difficult for you to under your very nose to decide, how can I decide about the other person? It's no way. We can just use the theory of the Buddha and say, you have done the wrong thing, you have to go, you are going to get the wrong results. But you have to say it is just theory. Even I myself can't draw the line. So therefore, if you go deeper and deeper into that, you understand if you are taken for a ride by what you are looking, how you are going to understand the mechanism, what is happening very in you yourself. Often what happens is, you will be taken for a ride for what you looked into. It is very interesting and all of a sudden you become unmindful. So nowhere. So therefore not only become mindful, not only understand the seeing and looking, let it happen 1,001 times, each and every time a kind of a refining takes place, kind of a maturity takes place, no end. So therefore you can ask the question, but very difficult to give a authentic or satisfying answer, but one easily can say, please keep on experimenting. This is a noble quest, Arya Pariyasana. Keep on doing, more and more you do, you understand who am I, you understand what is the mechanism or the circuit, how this is working, and ultimately it will not limit to your own personality, you will understand how the human mind is working. So it's a good question, but I am a very wrong person to give an answer, a satisfying answer. I am not. And I am very happy with the question. So that's all the written questions. So if there are any other, any clarification or any comments on what I have expressed, or any other new questions available, we have time.
Okay, yesterday you mentioned about personality traits. That, for example, someone who is by nature, thinking too much. What is the tip to reduce that episode of thinking, especially during meditation? It's not something that expect, but it just come in like a flat, non-stop. Do you have a tip for that?
So first of all, you have to understand whenever you are focusing the attention or mindfulness to one particular object, the person who has the personality trait like thinking, analyzing, he will not complain about the bodily pains. He or she will not complain about the sounds, but often complain, the thinking is the distraction. Thinking is the secondary object, come and always cross the way. So therefore, one has to repetitively confirm that very fact. Again, put the attention to the in-breath and out-breath, if it is your primary object. See, again it will wander off not to the sound, not to the pain, but to the thought. Again, you give a fresh chance, when and where possible, and again let it fall down, let it slip away. When and where slip away, try to understand which is the most frequent, which is the most familiar method, way, whether it is for thinking or pain or sounds. So when and where you are practicing to understand what is the real personality trait, you will look into the thought not like an enemy, but to understand in the diagnostic way. So therefore you are no more angry with thinking. More and more thinking happen, it becomes a raw material for you to confirm, okay, this time also I will see whether I am falling into the same trap. So therefore your hatred to the thoughts, if it is there, you will never do a good research. You will be always with the premeditated idea. Whenever the thought happens, you react. But instead, you have to take this as an experiment and see, whenever your mind becomes crossed or secondary object come, reconfirm. I was under the idea that I am always fallen into this thinking. Is this time also going to be a thinking? So if it is happening again and again, then only you have to come to a conclusion. My tendency is more towards the thinking. And even then, you understand when and where the thinking going to take place. You may be in a halfway in daydreaming, fantasizing, and wandering mind. And again, you can start after a while back in the in-breath and out-breath. So, first we talk about how the wandering mind, starting from in-breath, out-breath to go out for thinking. And later you may find there is a pathway from thinking to in-breath and out-breath, return journey also there. So the return journey happening intentionally or unintentionally. What do you think?
Intentionally to bring back, but again it's slip out.
No, that is the slipping out, we will leave it aside. But we are now taking the subject of recovering. You are in thinking and you have to pull it back to the breath. Okay. Who told you that you are in thinking?
Me.
So if the mindfulness is not there, how do you know that you are not mindful? I am in thinking.
I'm lost right now.
That is my duty, to get you lost. That's why I am telling you, you are always complaining about going away. But on return way, each time you go, you have to come back. How the return way happen? On the way back happen, do you think you bring it back? Or it is some kind of a sensation, some kind of a hint going to say something wrong somewhere. That understanding something wrong somewhere is a good thing or bad thing?
Again, it's not straight.
No, you are going to jump. I am handling a very simple issue, simple part. Please answer me. So whenever you have so much of thinking, each time you wander off, you have to come back to the breath, then only the second wandering off happen. Third wandering off happen. Each time it come back. The coming back happen due to your intention or without intention. Now, if it is the with intention, who told you that you are off the track?
Me.
So if it is so, there is a control. Even in wandering, even in daydreaming, even in fantasizing, there is a thinking, there is a signal telling something wrong somewhere. It is attributed to mindfulness or not? Is that mindfulness is more smarter than normal mindfulness?
So that means the frequent episode of thoughts, it happens because the mindfulness is still weak, right?
Mindfulness is?
Weak.
No, don't arrive at a decision, just analyze the situation. If you are repetitively going to the thinking, that means repetitively you are coming back to the object. How can they, otherwise it will once gone, you will be ever gone. It is not happening. If it is so, listen, if it is so, you can say you are frequently falling into thinking, will be a statement like that. No, it's a once and for all to fall into it only. This is not the case. This is case that you are frequently falling off. Mind you, if you are falling frequently into the thoughts, it has to come back in the same vein. I am talking about the coming back part. And few questions. The coming back happen with intention or not intention? You say it's with intention. If it is so, you must know something wrong somewhere. Who indicated you that something wrong somewhere? I am supposed to be with the breath, but I am now in the thinking. Who stirred you? Who give the hiatus? Who give the cursor? And that very cursor to say that I am supposed to be in the breath, but I am in thinking. Is it attributable to your mindfulness or not? If it is attributable to mindfulness, which mindfulness is better, to know that I am in the breath, or I know I am not in the breath? The Buddha says the very mindfulness indicates you that you are not into breath is the power of mindfulness. But if you are not appreciating, you will be ever cursing yourself, ever raising questions. So you don't know, your mindfulness is so smart, it knows unmindfulness also now.
To the beginning, during the beginning of the retreat, I thought at least I could see my breath or identify the breathing in and breathing out and was able to work with it for a short while.
You are going to give your impression, your idea. I am asking separate issue. I am relevant to your question. If you are a frequent thinker, if you detected it, reconfirm this diagnosis, let the thinking happen again and again, 1001 time in one sitting, reconfirm each time or 80% time or 70% time, it is with thinking, not with sound, not with pain. And that's the first and foremost diagnosis. If it is happening, each time mind goes out, I am giving a clue, it has to come back before going to the another thinking. So coming back, we have to analyze very carefully. And it is it's the crux of the thing, crux of the matter. Coming back happen due to your stirring or it come back automatically.
Due to my intention.
So if it is so, you must know, now you are in thinking. How can otherwise you make an intention to go back?
So it's not a failure.
No, I am not asking your view, I am not asking your analysis, I am just cross-questioning you. You are in the court now. I am cross-questioning you, I have my rights to cross-question because you are raw materials. We have to come to a judgment. It's a fair judgment, not a biased one. I am not allowing you to draw conclusion. I am asking, if you know that you are intentionally doing it, first of all you must know there should have intention to bring from wrong to correct. Do you know that I am in wrong?
Yes.
So is that happened? Is it that these qualities attributable to mindfulness or not? Understanding that I am in the wrong place? Is that mindfulness doesn't it better than that understanding I am correct? That is why Venerable Sariputta says, whenever the mind knows the slap, the negligence, the unmindfulness, that is the power of mindfulness.
But isn't that a type of Tinamita, wandering mind?
No, wandering mind and Tinamita are completely two opposite things. Tinamita is lack of energy, wandering mind means too much of energy. So you are confusing. I am not allowing you to confuse me. I am asking simple, straightforward questions. I will make sure you can't confuse me. No. Never. I am master in this subject. And I am telling you, if I am too self-critical, I will never become a monk, I will never become a meditator because my mind is such a wandering thing. But I tackled it, thinking, I know that my mind is wandering, that is the starting point of the recovery. Because I know my mind is not by the pain, not with the sound, it is wandering. So it is a starting point. So it's a hell of a diagnostic value. If you are going to hate that very discovery, where to go, where we are starting. So therefore understanding that, let the mind to run away as much as possible. Your wandering is my natural thing. It was there earlier. It is not a criminal. Let it happen. And see, with each time it goes, it has to come back again before the second wandering. The coming back part is the part you are going to highlight now. And it says it is happening involuntarily. It never happened with intention. It never happened with intention. It is naturally mind comes to know something wrong somewhere. Soon it comes to know, come back to the subject. It is a human mind. Very understanding. Krishnamurti gave a very nice example. It is very lucid. It is very convincing. He says you are But one day he came to my kuti, what you call that, log cabin. And he told there's a very dangerous poison around you. When they don't go walk in the grass, if necessary, you better walk in the path. Remember? You remember the case? Yeah. So we'll say now still I am walking in the grass. And now I am about keeping my leg. I see some object. And I am not sure whether it's a root or a thread or a serpent. But anyway, I have not kept the leg yet. So before that, touching that very object, if it crossed me, telling that he came and told, maybe a serpent, if that thought crossed me just that moment before touching, it's up to me to take the leg out. Because I know once you keep it, you know what is the danger. So that knowledge come to cross me exactly just before touching. If I am touched, even I have a knowledgeable person or not, the serpent will take the upper hand. So knowing and coming to know and happening immediately, the taking the leg and running, Krishnamurti asking, should you decide whether to run to the right side or left side? You need not that knowledge. That is already inbuilt. That is called the body knowledge. It's a matter just before touching. If the knowledge come and cross, that first person came and reminded me, there are serpents. This may be a serpent. And that very understanding happened, and the chain action about the safety is already inbuilt even in each and every RNA DNA. We claim we did it, never. It is something happening. Only the matter is understanding something wrong somewhere. That very understanding, if you know, I am always thinking that you are well better off. But the thing is, you hate that the knowledge. That is the worst thing in the world. You hate that your discovery. You hate your diagnosis. And when I was in Sri Lanka, there was a very old, very poor person came and told me a misery. When he was coming, he has gone earning something, and on the way back he found whole family massacred. And house is finished. Only one child at that time has gone to the temple, and when he come back and see everything finished, and he has seen the Buddha image just on the wall, and immediately he went to the temple. He thought, I have no any idea about the family life or kind of time, I will become a monk. And that particular person reporting me, he told he is having leukemia. So he daily come and ask something to have. So I used to give something because it is not my duty, but if it's available, I used to give. So daily he come and show me certificates. Then I told, don't talk nonsense. Nothing to prove. If it is something available, I'll give you. And one day he came and again started pulling the file and show him. Then I told, I have no time for you. I will give you something and get out, vanished. No, but just wait. He got CAT scan, X-ray photos. He told, I found a fast-growing cancer in my brain. Then I told, and I look at him, never depressed. Then I told, now, you see, now I am a busy person. You come and ask something, on top of that you are coming and telling all the miseries. And I am not interested in whether you suffer or not. Something give and finish you is my job. Now you come and say you have a cancer. After understanding this proving fact, how was your reaction? When they complete neutral. I was again stuck. That very understanding, that diagnosis, that having a cancer, only 2 months to live, he says, I am neutral. Then I told you are a wonderful person, because even I am being a meditator or being monk, I would have taken for a ride for such a news. No, but the way the suffering happens, this is nothing new. That's a diagnosis. Then I told at the beginning I wanted to chase you around, but now I feel you somehow or the other pumping me some kind of a knowledge that you are so understanding that diagnosis is good. Then he said, now I need 1,400 rupees for each month for the cancer treatments. Then I think, do you have a hope? Still I have. Still I have a hope. So then I told her, from my point of view, you have the family in a disturbance and son has gone and you are in a leukemia and cancer also very decisive. Still you are treating? No, I have diagnosis, I am going on. Then I told, if possible, I would have given everything, but whatever available I am sharing with you, but this is kind of a thing. I myself can't understand whenever I found my own fault, my own something wrong, it is neutral way. You always disturb. Going to think that I am a thinking type. Understanding a thinking type is a disturbance like. It isn't wrong like, but it is a kind of a thing. It's a gain. Out of meditation only we come to know this kind of diagnosis. So therefore, unless otherwise you diagnose yourself, you are in utter darkness. So therefore, understanding I am a kind of a person irritated by sounds. I am a kind of a person irritated by pain. I am a kind of a person irritated by sounds, thoughts. It's a wonderful understanding. Is it something to be brooded upon and frustrated upon or anything? I don't think so. You have to get the lesson from that particular person. So very understanding that I am getting disturbed, I am getting worrying about this and that, and pinpointedly say I am worrying on that. I would say that still the Dhamma is working. It is reflecting who you are. You are understanding who are you. There's no second person can prove you. Only thing is you have to reconfirm it again and again. When you are reconfirmed, complete the malice of that agent will be disappeared. Yeah, you are now looking at the diagnostic point of view, not in the enmity. You are not looking at the thought as something wrong. If that change is not happening, whatever the time you are going to meditate, meditation will create another kind of suffering. Meditation is not going to leave you away from the suffering, it is creating internal suffering by meditation. That is called Nekkamma Sita Domanasa. By meditation you are creating, that is called iatrogenic effect. By medicine you are getting kind of side effects that are incurable. This is incurable. In Visuddhimagga it says, Vesajja samuttita rogo vya atakicho. You have got a iatrogenic effect that the symptom arise out of the medicine. It is incurable. So in the meditation also, if you hold it from the wrong side, it appears like disturbing, worsening the situation. So therefore you have positive thinking. That is in the Karnimetta Sutta it says, first and foremost quality of the yogi is sakko. He must in the positive thinking. Anything come along your line, it is something revealing. So be prepared. We have, whether you like it or not, we have the powers, we have the ability, we have the strength to face it. But if you say, I can't, I have no, then no one can help you. We have. That is why the question happened, that is why the diagnosis happened. So when the diagnosis happened, face it with smiling and happy, positive way. By looking at your face, I don't see that. So very understanding that I am a thinking type, but later you will disprove it. That you think that your diagnosis is hard and fast. No. That from time to time it is changing. It depends on the climate, depends on the food you take, depends on the people you associate and everything. So, for the time being, understand it. Each time you are going to do daydreaming, fantasy, you think, okay, now I am correct. My diagnosis is correct. So something you are finding a reason to be happy. Each time the thinking happens. So you know the novel Pollyanna? In America it is very famous. Have you ever, anyone read the name? Pollyanna or something, I don't know how to pronounce it. You have to read it again and again. She will teach a girl with 7 years old. She is teaching you a game. You must try to find a reason to be glad under any circumstances.
That should have some limitation though, to certain circumstances, right? Not every circumstance.
Every chance, every thought is leading to Nibbana. No bad thoughts, bad limit. Each and every thought moment is precious. That's called Kshana Sampatti. Each and every thought moment is precious. You can't say this is bad, this is good. If you say this thought moment is bad, at that point your mind is bad. If you say this moment is very good, that time your mind is good. It represents your mind, not the thought moment, but the thought moment, but intrinsically always good.
Someone used to tell me that try to observe the thoughts when it's arising, just like a cat look at the bowl that the mouse will come out, and then when the mouse come out and find the eye of the cat, will get back again. So, I don't know, if I do that, then I will stay away from my primary object, isn't it?
No, that is good. Once you diagnose, you are a cat. Then that is that you have to understand, you are cut behind the rat. Then that is a technique. Beforehand, you have to just understand mindfulness or knowledge on primary object only tell you, you have to be alert on a rat. Before that, don't get alert on the rat. First and foremost, confirm the point. Diagnose the point. That diagnosis must be under your very nose, not by hearsay, not by others' understanding. You have to diagnose what character type, what type of a character I have. But what I am going to tell you, whenever you have to see the character type, often you hate that very discovery. Then nowhere. Then very difficult for you to analyze the information you already gained. Don't hate information. Information is information. Any information is informing you something. No information you can say it is bad. It's information. So, if you are going to say this information is good and that information is bad, then you are no more a neutral judge. Your mind is already pre-decided.
Our mind is always doing that.
That is the mind. So you have to understand, if you are defending and if you are believing your rational mind, it is always with prejudgment. That is why it is leading to frustration. But the Buddha says, instead, you can have a hope about the choiceless awareness. You can have a habitual training to the evenly suspended attention and suspended decision through training. That's the training going to take place. That's the value of your training. Otherwise, mind is so unruly, is so prejudgmental. Okay, now we have taken little more than 1 hour. So we are going to take time for walking meditation and we'll be meeting here at 3 o'clock for 1 hour of group sitting. Thank you very much for the participation.